she's got to make that day. So we got to make 2 of them. So we get back Fridays. Friday's at the whole interview.
How are you?
Well, you?
Again, Blue's had a conversation with him. I could see how you might be nuts and think something, but hell, he's never even met that or nothing. Good idea. That's all I ever said was like, hey,
And then the next thing you know,
That's the official camouflage lunch now?
yes, it is.
It does have the same colors as kind of town emblem.
Chris, you want a chair up there?
well, one day, 1 or 2 days.
Anyway.
Chair.
Oh.
Howard, did you use your tractor in the snow?
Just about here. Well, into the schedule. Just getting go to sleep.
That's probably smart, but let's get you down. I go down there and have coffee or have lunch. We still have 3 minutes. But we didn't lose what?
Go ahead. Oh, it was fun just trying to organize it. My dad's one to speak on it. Because I don't want to read it. I've been there and walk through it. So not wanting what the important stuff
Brenda, I'm not planning on crying.
That's not true anymore because Justin battles from the city of Mustang.
Yeah.
Don't make it heavy, dude. Dude, you just made me blush. Seriously, my face is turning red.
Well, they do the firefighter.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Straight up north.
It's got 60 or something.
Happy belated birthday. Like, I don't understand that. She told me that.
That's so cute. She's like, no, you don't. Just so you know, there's a cord behind you.
That's all
It
right.
shouldn't interfere with what you're doing.
Make sure my chair don't hang on.
Yes.
Oh, they're both gonna be on, okay.
Something like that the other day, you know, I'm on and stuff like that.
Y'all ready, guys? It's okay. Okay, guys, call to order. 101 p.m. Please raise the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious and kind Heavenly Father, thank you again for this beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for all the people that are present here today that are taking interest in our town and the future development of our community. Dear Heavenly Father, a special thanks to all our first responders and all the volunteers that guided us through our last week of rain and storm and ice. Guide and direct each of the decisions that are made here today, that they are made for your glory and to the goodness of this community. These things I ask in thy name, amen.
Thanks, Howard. Call to order.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan. Yep. Todd McDaniel,
Here.
Chad Sargent,
Here.
Brenda Walters. Here. Warren is present.
Recognition of guests, thank you guys for coming today. We're starting to see some sunshine out there and we're a rough week, so it's nice. Nice to see it warm up. Thank you guys for coming. Public comment?
Yes, we do have one. We have Crystal Jocelyn for agenda item number 10.
I just would like to ask Adam if he can, if it's not in his report, if he can address when the rest of the Chinook Road in Choctaw Hills will be finished.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. You said shouldn't.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's where they stopped at the top of the hill, coming down, because the original plan was supposed to include stopping just beyond my driveway, and it stopped at the top of the hill and has not. So just what that update is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to item number 7, consent docket. How about payment claims, you'll good on that too?
Make a motion to approve the consent document as given.
I second that. You get a roll call, please.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
Brenda Walters,
Yes.
motion carried.
Treasurer's report.
So for January 2026, we received $218,401.16 from Granicus alone. Again, that's any lodging taxes that is remitted online. We still do get quite a few checks. So the Hochtown deposits at $96,801.36 for a total lodging tax total of $315,202.52. Our sales tax for the month of January, $398,919.37. Use tax, $7,623.68. Cigarette tax is $1,977.77. Our court revenue for the month of January was $270. Our interest at the bank was $23,065.26 for a total income of $747,058.60. Our debits for the month, $257,099.71. So our sales tax trends month over month, you can see where we were in December. So we're up 12.34%, and year over year, we're up 4.77%. And I do want to pull something that didn't print.
Hey Julie?
Yeah.
On your month over month, it said December 2025, does that mean December 2024 we did 355?
So it'd been so it's month to month, side by side, so December 2025 compared to January 2026.
Okay.
And then the year over year is the January 2025 too, and then this month is January 2026. And then on the back, there is the first time license fees, which was 19 for the month of January, and we did have one renewal application in the month of January. But I did want to, it didn't print right on this, you can kind of see it should have been printed right there. Since in December, I did, or last month, I didn't give, because we were, came back from vacation, and didn't pull the numbers, but for December, we had 29 new extra licenses.
Julie, like on the 19th and also for December, are these truly first-time cabin rentals? Or are they people who maybe have been renting and just now getting their first-time license?
For the ones, some of both, but also too, it could be the same, cabin, just new management, so.
New management, new
Or new owners, I mean,
Yeah.
so.
Does Grant separate that?
Yes, they do have some numbers for us. So Granicus has identified, 1,911 STRs, and according to Granicus, we have, 1,377 that are compliant, which is,
Now, how many?
so total 1,911, and then, what Granicus is showing that is compliant is 1,377, which is about 72%.
How much is that bridge on that from last year? How much that we closed in on that because
compared to last year, probably a lot since we just gotten with open forum, so they were just getting numbers.
Seems to be.
I think I asked once before, can you do the lodging tax trends?
Yes, so
Yeah,
that's
it's
part
like
of
you
the
did this
part
last
that
tax,
didn't,
because
print. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
the lodging tax trends.
If you pull at the bottom of the page, it didn't, print. Rate. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast. So lodging tax trends month over month. So December 2025, lodging tax was $274,369.74 compared to our total lodging for this month. We're up 14.88%, so up 14, almost 15%. And then year over year, January of 2025, we had a total tax. Total lodging tax of $345,318.03, which makes us about rounding up down 9%.
Our December 2025 lodging tax collection versus the year before, it was at 14.08%. But our January 25 was higher than January 26.
It should not. Especially since the sales tax was up.
Okay, so month over month, we're up 14%. Year over year, we are down 8.72%. But if you look year over year with sales tax, we're up 4%, so it's, yeah, right there.
Okay. Let's do it. I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I second.
Roll call vote, please.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Chad Sargent.
Yes.
Brenda Walters.
Yes.
Motion carried.
County administrator's report.
Nothing to say this month.
All right, so nice to see everybody warm, and nice to see all this ice melting away. The other night, whenever we had that rainstorm, it put a smile on my face, because I knew that that's going to help bring up the our temperatures were up, and start helping to kind of melt away that ice that's just been so stubborn lately. But anyways, a good majority of the end of this month was dedicated to our winter storm response. The storm hit January 23rd. We're taking calls all the way up through February 3rd. So in that, with us coming together as a staff before the storm, putting our plan together, distributing it out to the board, staying in constant contact with the county commissioners, staying in contact with the Jerry Fowling with emergency management. I'd like to thank, and I'm sure I'm going to miss some people because there were so many people that came together to render aid during the storm. So a special thanks, at least on my list. I think either of our chiefs might kind of clean up my list if I'm missing anybody. But I just want to say thank you to our Mayor Chad Sargent and the entire Board of Trustees here for the town, because you guys had kept your fingers on the pulse of this community, and you relayed the needs of this community to staff and allowed us to get out there and respond. Whether there were roads that needed to be graded, that got missed, that needed to go back and be hit, whether there were people out there that were stranded, whether residents needed assistance or wellness checks, whether there were people that needed food and water, You guys did such a great job at communicating and keeping that finger on the pulse and reaching out to us and letting us do our job. So that's, for starters, the core of this response here. Second, I'd like to thank Shelley Copeland here for her constant action and staying on top of our social media communications, pushing community updates to the public, broadcasting ways for people to get assistance, and communicating with those people in need and getting their phone number, their contact information, and sending that out to both of our chiefs and myself, so that, including our trustees here, so that we can all make a response and get those people the things that they need. So thank you for that, Shelley, too. Thank you. Thank you, obviously, to our police chief in the Hochtown Police Department, our fire chief, Hochtown Fire Department. Zed Sims, as our town grader operator, he did an incredible job cleaning up these roads. And also his response as a member of the Hochtown Volunteer Fire Department with vehicle recovery operations and responding to calls here. I'd also like to say thank you to SQs and Steel Towing and Wrecker Services. They were incredible. They were out there on scene right next to us, finding people, getting them what they need. Also, Keith Shearer Construction, Keaton and Kevin Perry of MKP Construction, and then Brad Broussard of Broussard Construction for all of their road clearing assistance to the town. In that, we've had the opportunity to sit down and do our winter storm debrief meeting. This is only one of 2 meetings that we've gone through. We have some notes and a course of action on things that we need to discuss for our next follow-up meeting. We also had an internal survey, internal staff survey, so that way we can kind of collect the things that we felt was missing in the response, areas that we can improve, areas that we did well, and just general equipment ideas on things that we can have so that we can be better prepared for the next one when that does come. Closing of the winter storm stuff, as far as our road maintenance operations and our road project goes, made some significant progress this month on Camp Ranch Road. Before the winter storm hit, we managed to install a significant drainage structure near the entry of Camp Ranch and US 259, that's over the Yashal Creek area. As far as Choctaw Hills goes, I know we had some questions about that. MKP Construction will be back onto the Choctaw Hills project to knock out the installation of the concrete box bridge along Chinook after we have completed the Camp Ranch Road excavation and drainage structure installations. He's on both jobs and he does not have enough manpower to be stretched out on both simultaneously, so he's going to knock out the drainage structures on camp and then come back to our Choctaw Hills project and get that wrapped up. As far as miscellaneous, we can get into the small details of all the meetings and other things that we've done this month. I know that we've had a lot going on, and I was asked to make sure that this one was quick, but I wanted to really give thanks to you guys and this entire community for coming together and offering that aid in this response to our winter storm, because I mean, this ice was no joke and it hit us hard. I mean, there were instances where we had our crews operating late into the hours of the night to try and get people out. And some people it took us days to get to in order for us to clear the road safely for equipment to get back in there and then to actually start working onto their roads. So, does anyone have any questions for me on this report?
Well, I just want to see if we can give Adam a round of applause.
It's not me. It's
Well,
not me.
because you did a lot this whole week. You orchestrated a tremendous amount. I know you want to be modest about it, but you were kind of the head and helped facilitate everything. So I'll just give Adam a round of applause.
Let's clap for everybody.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I do have a question though, real quick, and I'm sure you haven't had one week the way it was and everything, but the Airbnb lodging tax situation.
Yeah, okay, so that is in there on the bottom. Yep.
Has there been any updates from Airbnb?
Okay, so, and I put in the note at the bottom as a footer that
That's good.
you need to know that this issue is not over with. We have not came to a conclusion on how this is going to be resolved yet. However, we do have Liz, who is constantly in contact now with their public policy management team and their software engineers. And so we are in the process of providing them with mapping data and communicating with Oklahoma Tax Commission to make sure that this lodging tax remittal mishap does not happen.
Okay, so did they put a stay on it, or did they go ahead and enact it January 1 as they said they were going to?
They're collecting it, but what it's kind of a long and sordid explanation. They're collecting it still, and they have given us instructions that, so when people call up here to town hall and they're not sure what to do, we have a process, a temporary process in place to help people with OTC and Airbnb get it changed in Airbnb system manually, but what we're trying to hurry up and get done is the mapping data overlaid with it. Even though that was effective January 1, you know, those taxes get collected later, so we're just trying to get it done as fast as we can. I have them, Airbnb is in direct contact now with the OU Center for Spatial Analysis, which is who we use to do all our surveying, and they're the ones who can identify the properties, as well as OTC, and got their public map data from there. Airbnb uses a third-party company called Vertex, V-E-R-T-E-X, for their mapping data, and Vertex did not have the mapping data for htown. So we've provided all of that to them now. I don't know, I'm not a software engineer, I don't know how hard that is to get plugged in, but it seemed to me like it ought to get fixed pretty fast. And there were some emails as recent as late last week where they were confirming that they got all the data. So I'm staying on top of them about getting it done. But Adam and the staff here has instructions for when people call, because we're still continuing to direct people. Don't just send them in, ask. And OTC has already told me about several, I couldn't tell you the current number, that they've already gotten moved over themselves with Airbnb. So they're talking to each other on a pretty regular basis and helping them manually move properties as well.
Is there a possibility, and this may not even come up in conversation, but is there a possibility that once these city boundaries are established with Airbnb, that they could give us a number of total lodging taxes being collected and remitted from within that boundary?
You would think they ought to be able to do that. Airbnb, so I've had lots of different conversations with them. Airbnb, when they send the taxes into a municipality, doesn't send any kind of report about it's for this property, this property, this property.
City total.
Yeah, but you would surely think that whenever somebody books a thing, there's a record showing that the taxes got paid for that thing, that cabin. So I don't know. I don't know. But Adam and I are working on some other things related to that could potentially be an even longer term solution to several of our lodging tax procedural problems that we have. So, and I'm even working with Julie. We got Julie access to all the OTC's data on our sales tax, so we can run some reports and see how much sales tax they're collecting on these cabins to help us identify ones that maybe aren't, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of good things going on that we're working on, but yeah, it's coming.
I understand.
It's on the way.
All right, thank you.
But
Thanks, Adam.
Yes, sir.
Let's do Police Williamson, Chief Williamson, please. Oh, Jason's on. All right.
We're gonna put the little guy in the game. Alright. So, we had a lot going on in January, but although we did make some arrests and write a few citations, we're gonna focus on the Ice-Mageddon. I'm gonna just give a little executive summary right here. Right? So, during this severe winter weather event known as Ice-Mageddon 2026, the Htown Police Department conducted extensive rescue, welfare, and emergency response operations across the Htown area. Extreme icing conditions rendered many roads impassable, stranded residents and visitors, and created significant risk to life and property. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't think that anyone could get too many pats on the back, all rounds of applause. But I'm going to repeat a few people that he did, because these guys did exceptional work, especially Zeb and Brad Broussard with Broussard Construction and Mike and Pennington. They were just exceptional. I was in awe with Zeb, actually. So during that time, Htown Police Department executed over a dozen major rescue missions, assisted an estimated 45 to 50 plus individuals, supported 15 to 20 plus vehicles, and coordinated with multiple agencies, including McCurtain County Sheriff's Office, Htown Fire Department. We assisted with them, support. They had a broken arm guy. He was in bad condition. So we supported Htown Fire with that. Town administration, SUs, Steels, Deb again, Brad, Mikey, and a host of unidentified volunteers. Despite hazardous conditions, htown Police Department maintained operational readiness and delivered continuous service throughout the event up until yesterday. That's it.
Ours was a little slower. We did staff for the ice storm for 5 full days, all 6 of our guys, and we didn't get a single call, one in all 5 days. Our work did start. Unfortunately, when they all went home is when we got busy. So, but again, we made it through. I think we only had one actual injury in town. A lady broke her arm, fell in the cabin. We did go, we had the Jeep incident up there way off by the lake. I went up there and looked at it yesterday. It was a long ways down the hill to where they were. I think they posted there 7 hours. I wasn't here that night, but it seemed to be a pretty long ordeal.
Was that Saturday or Sunday?
It was Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Sunday we went down into the park. We had some people on top of the hill down on Carson Creek that we just had to get to the bottom. They weren't in any danger. They just really didn't want to walk out anymore because it got so slick. So other than that, we don't really have a lot going on. We got some stuff on the agenda for our volunteer handbook.
Did you guys rescue some hiker? Was there a hiker that got lost?
No, I wouldn't say a rescue. I don't like to use that word like that. But she was sitting on a log, and I just happened to be in the park that morning and walked her to her car. She got lost that night. She literally went on a walk that evening and got lost and sat on a bench up there on the Fringe Trail and slept there on the bench all night.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I don't walk, obviously. Hike. I just happened to go to the park that morning and was like, I'll just go walk the Fringe Trail. And I thought this lady might be, something was wrong. So, but she was just like, I've been sleeping out here all night. I want to go home. So I just walked her to her car. But yeah, I just happened to go to the park that morning. I ain't a hiker for sure, but glad I did that one, I guess. For me, like for this winter storm thing, I did see some gaps in some equipment that we need. I'm not gonna say we depended on Broken Bow. Broken Bow has the county ropes trailer. It belongs to the association, but that equipment was very useful for the Jeep incidents. And even the lost hikers, not lost, but the people on the hill the other day, we had to go get out. So we need to acquire some rope rescue equipment. It's not something we do a lot of, but we need it here when we need it. We don't need to have to wait. If it's something extensive, then you have to wait on them to bring what's left, but we need enough stuff to get us started. To at least be able to have something set up before they get here. And I've got some stuff printed out, I can send it to you. It's not a ton of money, obviously, but it's the stuff that we need to have on the next agenda to get purchased. So that we don't have to depend on somebody else to come help us for everything. Other than that, we don't have a lot going. We're still waiting on our repeater stuff. He keeps telling me every time I ask, it'll be here any day. Any day's been about 3 weeks now. So I'm sure the ice storm probably held a lot of that up. But as soon as that gets here, we should be a quick get it set up and go thing. So again, we're just waiting on equipment. Other than that, that's all I really got.
Work already started on that?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I spoke with Shay, told him it was all approved. I know the week before the ice storm, I think he was out getting people ready for the ice storm, and then we've been 2 weeks out of the ice storm now. So as soon as he's on it, hopefully, he's been told he got the bid on it, and we're ready when he is. So, but when we do that, also, I don't know if it's something to bring up, but I'm gonna have them plumb a gas line to that shop, so that off that propane tank we can't run a gas heater. So we're gonna run some little electric heaters into where the fire trucks are to keep it from freezing.
Yeah.
But if we can just plumb a little gas infrared heater over there, which will help a lot. So we'll just probably have to tack it onto that bid, but we'll see what we have to do about getting that added on.
So the generator's here, it's here.
So Shay's handling all that.
Oh, he's got it, okay.
He said he's gonna order it all and take care of everything, so we're just waiting on him.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. You gotta scoot it to the other screen.
So at 12 for, let's do a presentation for Jessica Poole. She is, going to give us a overlay district and zoning update, commercial.
Hey Julie, just let me know when you guys are ready.
Steve, is that all right?
Ready for you, Jessica.
Okay. Hi everyone, Jessica Boyd, Boston Associates. I have met several of you, although I cannot see you guys right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go over give a quick presentation over the commercial zoning code updates that we are working on. And these are going to be specific to only the commercial districts. So I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for our proposed commercial districts, we have four districts and then overlay districts. We have the commercial recreation, commercial light, commercial general, which is intended to be the existing zoning districts, so, and then the commercial heavy, so these are just kind of be combined with your existing zoning districts so that no significant changes are made. And then the overlay district, we're going to have the Highway 259 overlay. So I'm going to go through each of these districts, what the intent is, and then also get into some specific design regulations. So for the commercial recreation district, we have, this one is intended to conserve your scenic and natural resources and promote outdoor recreation uses. And we also want to encourage some small, low-intensity commercial uses within this that are ancillary to the recreation uses. So think something like maybe a gift shop, a small little cafe, restroom structures, things like that. So on the example pictures over here, I actually have Martin Nature Park in Oklahoma City. And then this middle picture here is the visitor center that is within Martin Nature Park. And as you can see, this is a pretty large area, and the visitor center is just right here. So things that will be added into the code for this will be, impervious surface requirements. You can't exceed a certain amount, limited building areas. And this will really be intended to promote those recreation uses. And I know that bottom picture is from the zip lining that is near htown. I know it's not within your town limits, but someday more land might be annexed into town, and so we want to make sure that this district is available to be used for that. The next one we have here is your commercial light district. So commercial light, this is going to be intended for your low intensity commercial and office uses. This is intended to be surrounded by residential, so these are going to be, low noise pollution. We don't want to exacerbate any lighting issues. These are just going to be retail shops that are going to serve a residential area. Those two pictures with the white facade, that is a development that is in Oklahoma City. It's completely surrounded by a single-family residential neighborhood. That bottom picture is a bookstore, and then the top left is actually a little daiquiri bar. So I wanted to include these pictures to just show that you can have, architecturally, you can have commercial structures that are appropriate to be surrounded by residential, because those also look like a single family home. A good example in htown of this is Scotty Doss, with the exception of, we would not be looking to promote any outdoor amplified music uses. But this is just a small little bar, ideally something that the residents could walk to and would just really serve the area. And then the next one, your commercial general district. So I am envisioning this being kind of medium intensity. And again, we're going to keep that existing CM use, or the existing district. So this will be uses that need a little bit more space, more parking area. We can have a variety of storefronts in there. And obviously that bottom picture is the Hochebo development and the restaurant within the town limits, but I thought this was a really good example of having kind of a collection of multiple storefronts in one place that even has a little bit of an outdoor area in the center there. And then your heavy commercial district is going to be your highest intensity district. So this one is going to be, lodging accommodations, outdoor recreation that's going to create a lot of noise and maybe more cumbersome to residential areas. And this is going to include outdoor music. So you might know the top picture there is the Chaco Lane development, which is in its own separate district. But should anything like that come closer to the center of town, you want to make sure there are specific regulations and that it is the heavy commercial district is in place for that. And then obviously that bottom picture is the mini golf and then the maze. So those are outdoor recreation uses that may not fit in your commercial recreation district because it does include a lot of impervious surface, and you've got, you would want to clear the trees for that or something like that. And then for our overlay district, we have the Highway 259 overlay. So this is intended to address issues of site design. So things like building facades, density, landscaping, signage, lighting. So these regulations will be an overlay to the base zoning district to really make sure that the community's design vision is preserved for the distinct character. And I also envisioned this going along with the LED branding efforts that were just done with the comp lane. So the top right picture, I do want to point out, this is a aerial view of the woodlands in Texas. So you can see that there is a pretty significant tree buffer between the single-family residential homes and the commercial developments. And this is about 100 feet. And what's so interesting about this is it creates not only a visual buffer, but also just it's going to help with any noise and light pollution that would be coming from those commercial districts. If you are on that residential street, you cannot tell that there is a large commercial development only 100 feet away. And then obviously that top picture is Bendigo's, and then the bottom one is the htown development. So I thought these were two really good examples to include in what I believe you are going for in terms of architectural facades and designs. And then to get into the design requirements, so these will include architectural regulations. So those are going to be exterior building materials, textures, colors, and it's going to be written in a way that to make those requirements consistent with your surrounding environment. So I took these three pictures of developments that I know are in htown. I think maybe what you are going for in terms of the facade, something with a lot of wood, something that's a little bit more rustic and kind of matches the character of the town. And so we want to ensure that any new developments meet your aesthetic vision. And so the next three slides here, I have some facade examples. And I went ahead and numbered them. I'm going to send this presentation, this PDF to Adam after the meeting, so you guys can kind of take a look at this. And if there are any specific facades in here that you really like or you really do not like, and you want to make sure that those are not permitted in the overlay district, those are just some follow-up things that you can reference to number for each picture. So number one there, we've got wood, and then I included this one because you can see there's a pretty large metal building in the back here. And so I wanted to show that in that, metal can be used, it can be well done, but if you are not looking for this much metal, things like that would be in the regulations would be limited to a certain percentage and then specified architectural metal, so it's kind of just accents and not a full building facade. And then we've got just a combination of stone, masonry, and wood with some of that architectural metal, and then the same for this one down here. And then this next page is a little bit more rustic. You have primary wood facades that, number 8 there, that's going to include some stone masonry. And then again, similar with the architectural metals, we can put in that you can have, no more than 50% of your facade can be stone masonry or architectural metal or any other similar materials if you're looking to really just promote that wood exteriors. And then same here, picture 9 and 10, these are a little bit more residential in character because you've got the pitch roofs. But then down there on the bottom, 11 and 12, those are more masonry. You've got a little bit of wood on my end. 12 there is the only one brick. So I wanted to include that to see if you would like to specify that brick is a permitted material, or also if there's any other materials that I haven't mentioned that you would like expressly prohibited, that's also something that would be helpful to know. And then getting into landscaping and screening. So the purpose and intent of this one is to ensure that landscaping and screening protect and enhance your visual appeal. We want high quality development. We want to make sure to conserve your water resources. And this can be done through, plant species, green infrastructure, and things that, like maintenance techniques that really work with the landscape and the environment and not against it. And that'll help with your stormwater runoff. Landscaping and screening can also help with buffers and encourage tree preservation. So that top right picture is another picture from the woodlands, just something else that I wanted to show that, this very intense and large buffer area can really protect the residences and then also add a lot of visual appeal for the commercial developments. So like this picture right here on the top left, having those tree preservation requirements, having a lot of landscaping for your outdoor patios is also going to really create a very inviting space for people. And then this bottom picture, I did want to point out, so I think this is a fairly new development for htown, but even though you have trees and screening from the highway, you can still see there is a development there. I think the downside to the pretty significant tree preservation requirements in the woodlands is that you have no street frontage. So you're driving down the street, you have no idea there's a pretty large commercial development right next to you. And I think not having a street frontage may be detrimental to the commercial developments. And then outdoor lighting, so we want to make sure to require things like shades and shields so that we are not creating additional light pollution. That top picture right there, you can see the lights are amazing fancy. And then the very bottom picture, those are the wall packs that are directly on the facade and obviously angled downward. So we want to make sure that all light is angled downward and not out. And then noise, so there are a few different ways to mitigate noise pollution. You can have decibel caps, hours of operation, and landscaping. Now, the decibel caps does get a little cumbersome for staff to enforce because, the way that would work is you have a complaint, you would have to have someone go out there, measure the decibels, and then issue any type of citation that you have to control. So really an outdoor operation for identified needs can be very helpful, and then an increase in the landscaping to add to that buffer. And then signage, so my last few slides are about signage. The purpose and intent is we want to establish signage regulations for the commercial developments that are abutting Highway 259. And I want to make sure, we can do things like regulate the number, size, and location of signs. I want to make sure to still promote these businesses while protecting the visuals from Highway 259. And obviously some exceptions from these would be any signs, any wayfinding signs that the town puts up, or anything that's required by local, state, and federal law. So these are two examples of, I think, signs that are really well done off of Highway 259. We've got the Great Wolf Heaven and Wichita. And I'll get into the specifics of those signs in a couple slides. Some examples of signage that I think might be helpful for you all just to be aware of in Sedona, Arizona. So they have very specific signage regulations for the location and extent of signs and advertising. So their intent is to not obstruct the scenic views. And so they have even, that very last quote down there is from their signage regulations that any colors cannot contrast the natural landscape. And so they have to really they have specific colors that they want to see. So an example here is this McDonald's that's in Sedona. This is the only McDonald's in the world that does not have the golden arches, because the town felt that very bright yellow color just contrasted with their landscape too much. And so they worked out the development with McDonald's to be able to use this kind of teal color. And it has actually become a tourist attraction because it is the only McDonald's in the world that does not have the arches. Some more examples from Sedona. You can see that all of these signs are very low. And even, they have national brands like PetSmart, Staples, and Safeway. But these low monument signs are really going to help to declutter the view. So you'll see like that bottom left picture is a really great example. If you are walking down the sidewalk or even driving down the road, you don't have a whole lot of visual clutter in the airspace. And so it just creates a really nice and inviting environment for pedestrians, and then just really cleans up everything. So some more signage examples I have are in Woodlands, Texas. So Woodlands, Texas is interesting because they are not incorporated as a town. So they do have, covenants and restrictions, and then specific design regulation. So some specific examples from their regulations is they have prohibited pole signs, so that in and of itself really cleans up the streetscape. And they have restricted regulations for monument signs and attached signage. So natural materials, it can't be more than 18 inches above the natural grade. They encourage construction for low maintenance in the long term. And then they have restricted background and letters, colors, even specific logos are limited to 10% of the overall tenant's message area. So you can see that top picture, the Chase Bank sign, and then the middle one is actually a McDonald's, which is pretty difficult to see, but again, does not, there's no clutter along the streetscape. If you're driving down this roadway, you have no idea that there is a large commercial development that's just on the other side. And these are some more examples from the Woodlands. I wanted to include the top left picture is the entrance to kind of like a little commercial development park. So now there's a Kroger's, and then there's a couple other small offices. Chick-fil-A, I wanted to include the bottom right picture to show that because no pole signs are permitted, you do have this national brand, Chick-fil-A, that even though they can put in a pole sign, they have a low monument sign that, you really don't need the pole sign at this, in this instance, because you have the signage that's on the street and then still right in front of the building. And then that bottom left one is wayfinding signage for the town. So you can see that one is a little bigger and the base is different. So I would envision this being very similar in color to all of the branding efforts that were done with the company. And then some existing htown signage that I just wanted to talk about quickly. Starting from the left, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of colors, it's really in your face, it's going down Highway 259, it can be a little distracting, and you're kind of struggling to know, to read the sign really quickly and see everything, and pay attention to the road to see everything that's going on. So the very last sign, the sign for the Stevens Gap restaurant. I know that one has been there for quite some time, so I just wanted to add that when you adopt these regulations, any existing signs will be illegal non-conforming. So they will be permitted to continue to exist, but if they were taken down or any significant changes were made to them that would require any permitting, they would have to adhere to the new signage regulations. So, and ideally, this would help kind of clean up all of the visual clutter that may be there. And so this is another thing that, if you all would like to kind of look through these pictures, and if something like the zip-line sign height of that you really like in your favorite pt1 permit, that's something that I can include in those regulations. And then this last slide here, I think, is just some examples of signage that is well done in htown. You've got the Grateful Head, htown, the Bendigo sign, and then the bank sign. So Grateful Head is limited in colors. You know, if you look at it, you immediately, you know what's going on. It's easy to read, it's simple. The htown, I really love that it's, you know, wood and the green, and I think that also goes along with your intent for the branding from town. The Bendigo sign, it's quite large, but I understand there's pretty significant elevation changes from the roadway to where the restaurant is. And then the bank sign, so although this is not a monument sign, it is taller, but we still have quite a wide base here. And also things like requiring landscaping at the base of the signs may be helpful in the regulations so that, you know, if there was landscaping here, it might look just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So that is my presentation on the commercial zone district regulations that we're working on. And like I said, I'll go ahead and share this PDF with Adam. I think what I'm really looking for is to know if I'm on the right track in the draft of these regulations or if there's something else you would like to see. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
I thought it was fantastic.
No, that was great.
So, and this is being.
We've actually been talking about some of these things and like discovered, no, this was fantastic.
And this is in hand with the planning commission, correct?
Yes.
They're working hand in hand with this.
It will begin yes, with that phase. And then it'll be, once they all agree to a concept, then they'll introduce it to the board of trustees to review and provide input, and we'll make any revisions at your level afterwards.
Will we get a copy of this?
Yes, so Jessica will email that to me and then I'll distribute it to the board, and then you guys can fire back any questions or concerns or any sort of information you might need.
Great work, Jessica.
Can she hear us?
Yes, you can.
Oh, you can. I didn't know if she couldn't see us and hear us, but yeah, good job, Jessica, looks
Yeah.
great.
Thank
Think
you.
you're
Do we
headed
have,
fantastic.
do we have a plan
Thank you. It's good to know that I'm on the right track with that.
to when we finally get the final revision of the comprehensive plan? I know this has been going on for over a year, and we have to put them on timeline to begin with.
Okay, the comprehensive plan will be on the next agenda item.
Yeah.
This one is for the commercial zoning regulations and then the overlay district. But as far as the plan goes for that one, Jessica, what do you think? A few months it'll take us to kind of put our drafts and our concepts together and get it introduced to the board for their turn?
Yes, I think that's a good timeline. We'll go kind of through a couple of internal drafts before it's, you know, ready to be finalized with the board.
Okay.
While we're on this, may not be the time to bring it up, maybe I'll bring it up in a new business. I guess everybody saw the email from the OML, the planning commission and board of adjustment workshop, March 26th of this year.
Yeah, same here.
Came through OML. If you haven't seen this, I'll distribute it. It might be advantageous to the board to have we have two committees, workshop for both of them right there.
Let's do it.
Would we entertain sending some of our board members or all of them if necessary?
Sure. That's a great
Anyway,
idea, Howard. That's great.
I was gonna bring it up in a new business, but since we're doing this one.
You were all.
Yeah.
And it's in March?
March
6th, was it?
I mean, that's pretty quick, which will be great. Gives them
March
time to implement it.
26th, end of March.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's in Midwest City at Rose State College. Been there many times. Workshops. Anyway, thought I'd bring it up.
Misty, would you put that in your notes to poll the Board of Adjustments and the Planning Commission and trustees too? If the trustees wanna, you guys care to go?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's just do all three, and then we'll get their availability and interest.
Yeah.
Definitely several of you do, but maybe all of them.
That'd be great.
Okay, so I think we're wrapped up with Jessica. We're just gonna,
We'll jump into Jill's presentation on the comprehensive plan.
So we need to take an action item on this before, I'm gonna sit here if that's okay, until we do this next presentation, because it's easy.
do we need to do that?
No, discussion on
Yeah.
the,
Okay, we're ready.
Wanna go ahead and read number 13?
Yeah, 13, we've got, comprehensive plan presentation by Jill Perrick with TSW. Hello, Jill. You here? Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Good, how are you doing?
We're doing great.
Good. Good to hear y'all. I can't see you, but that's okay. Good to hear you and present to you today. We're really excited. So today I'll be presenting an overview of the comprehensive plan. And I know the document is about 180 pages, so I know it's pretty lengthy. So today I'd love to give you an overview at a high level, and then I'm available for any questions that you have after, or any questions that might come up after the presentation too.
Good.
I'll go ahead and share my screen. Go. And I'll start with a quick overview. So as you all know, this project began in early January of last year, 2025, and it was broken up into 2 phases of work. And so, as you know, the first comprehensive plan was adopted in April of last year, and it was really supporting the zoning ordinance that you have in place now. So I'm really happy to see Jessica's presentation, because this is really an extension of all this work too. So thank you also as a board for, I think this acknowledgements page, if you can see my screen here, really highlights the folks that were very heavily involved in this process. So thank you to you as a board for having the vision to really create the town's first comprehensive plan and make it a priority, and then also getting the community involved throughout the process. So I'll hit the highlights also of the process, how many folks we had involved from the beginning and through all of our public meetings. But we also had a committee throughout this process, and we have the names listed here on the acknowledgements page, but I want to say a big thank you to them. You appointed them, they did an excellent job. We met 4 times throughout the process, and really began with conversations that helped to set the priorities, in addition to all the public engagement that we had through the process. But they really were a great sounding board and provided feedback, and ultimately reviewed the plan as well. So thank you to them for that process as well. So to provide an overview of how this document is structured, I think this table of contents page helps to set it up well. You can see that all the elements that are included in this plan and how it's structured and set up. And so the beginning of the plan is the introduction, but this is the community's really the first full comprehensive plan after all the public engagement. So this sets the stage for what is the role of 20 years in its horizon. And then also community snapshot. This, being the first long-range document, it's important to show where the community is now. So as you go through the document, in the introduction it has, demographic data as the town currently stands. But also in the strategic priorities section, it provides data, economics, market factors that go into the recommendations in the plan too. So it's a snapshot of where the community is now. And the second section of the comprehensive plan really highlights the process that was involved. And a lot of times we say the process is just as important as the plan, but the big reason for that is because the community is very involved, and they really set the tone for what the priorities are in the plan. And so we have the public engagement process included, the outreach methods of marketing that were included, as well as the engagement summary. And so the strategic priorities in the document are really where you say like the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes of the plan are. So that's where you'll see existing conditions for each of the priorities, as well as goals and recommendations. And one thing to highlight too, and you'll kind of see this as we flip through the plan, is as part of our work, we had a list of topics that were going to be addressed in the comprehensive plan to be addressed. But after hearing from the community and working through the public engagement events that we had in the survey, we identified 6 strategic priorities that were led by what we heard from the community. And so we really restructured, re-outlined the plan so that the recommendations and the goals were geared towards those strategic priorities. So the goal was for this plan document to be more of an action playbook for the community, so that you can see what the priorities are and see what the goals, recommendations, actions are to help achieve that. And then at the end, and you'll see, I'll kind of flip at the end, you'll see the implementation and monitoring section. And so this is where you'll have a table, a matrix of the recommendations that are in the plan and timeframes that would be involved in when they should be accomplished or when those actions should be started, and then who could be the responsible party for that action, or who could the potential partners be as well. So I'll show you that here in just a few moments. And then an appendix is saved separately, so you'll see that on the right. As part of this work, we had a sub-consultant team of experts on different areas, and so there's a brand audit, and that was completed by Civic Brand, and a market analysis that was completed by Catalyst, and community engagement results. So this is intended to be a place where if you really want to take a deeper dive into all the survey results, all the feedback we received from the meetings, you could go to that section and take a look at that, because we've summarized it in the plan, but this provides you with the raw data. Okay. So in the introduction section, you'll see this is the current community snapshot that I mentioned. It also outlines just the history of the community in a very succinct way. And then the community-driven vision. I'll touch on this a little bit more in detail. So as you know, there was a project website for this, so I would say it's still active. So if anyone's watching or in attendance today and wants to go on the guidinghtown.com website, the draft plan is posted there. And that has remained active and current throughout the process to keep people up to date on the activities. And then the advisory committee was the committee I mentioned earlier. And then we had a series of workshops. So this first picture on the bottom right is the first kickoff meeting that we had in March of 2025. We also held community design workshops in June and July of this year, and then pop-up events. And the pop-up events were more focused on the branding audit part of the scope of work, and then the community design workshop and kickoff they helped to set the priorities for the comprehensive plan and help to refine some of the recommendations as well. So you'll see some examples of the activities and the feedback that we heard from the community. And then the most recent one was the draft plan open house. So this was just in November, and the draft plan was completed. It was posted on the website, and we advertised it as a public comment period. We're trying to advertise and get responses from the community on any feedback that they had. And then as part of this work too, there was a community input survey. And so we had 172 responses to the survey. And so we're very pleased with that number, and just wanted to highlight that as well as the interactive map survey. So that's what you'll see on the right-hand side. So this is where a map where people could actually go to zoom in, zoom out, and then click parcels, find locations, add comments where, you know, if they saw challenges or opportunities or experienced challenges, whether it be traffic or stormwater, or they might have highlighted places that they like to go that we should keep in consideration. But that really helped us to get very specific feedback about opportunities in the community. And then we also had a workforce survey that 78 respondents replied to. And so this was intended to hear really from the folks that are working in htown. And so we had that available in English and Spanish, and I believe most of the respondents of the survey came from more of a retail background and restaurant. And then this page here really highlights the summary of the results that we received. So on the interactive map survey, the one that I was just pointing out previously, we had 200 plus comments on that. And the 172 survey responses that we had included, there was one question at the beginning of the survey that asked, you know, do you live in htown? do you have a business in htown, or, you know, do you live outside htown but in the county? And so just to give you a sense of the folks that live in htown, there was a 14% response rate out of the total population of like the town proper of htown that responded to the survey. So that's definitely a higher response rate than we typically see. You know, we always want those to be, you know, higher, or as high as they can be, but 14% is actually very strong in comparison with many communities on long-range plans. So sometimes it's just kind of challenging to get responses to those, but we have really great turnouts at the public events as well. And then 78 employees from the tourism, recreation, and service sectors completed the workforce survey. And then this summarizes the public engagement activities and meetings. So 2 pop-ups, 2 community design workshops, 1 kickoff meeting, 1 final open house, and 4 advisory committee meetings, for a total of 600 total comments received across all the engagement activities. And to highlight a few of the key takeaways that we heard from the community, and this was specifically from the survey on the right-hand side, but the importance of coordinating infrastructure with growth, balancing tourism and housing, preserving htown's identity, and community planning to shape visioning. And then these pages highlight some of the overall results that we heard from the community. So top priorities for htown's future: 1 is improving road conditions and transportation, 2 is managing growth and development, and 3 is expanding public infrastructure and utilities, 4 is protecting natural resources and open space, and 5 is expanding public safety and emergency services. And really taking into culmination all the things that we heard through the survey, the in-person meetings, through committee, helped us to funnel it into 6 strategic priorities. So this really set the framework for how the plan is organized, structured throughout the next several chapters. And so the 6 strategic priorities are infrastructure and public safety, sustainable growth and environmental stewardship, economic diversification and local business support, housing attainability, community character and connection, and parks, trails, and amenities. And so you'll see each of the sections have a similar format, so you'll see that consistency as you go throughout the document, but it starts with a priority snapshot. So the first one is a sustainable growth and environmental stewardship. You know, what we heard from the community on that topic at the beginning, guiding principles. And as I mentioned earlier, it goes into existing conditions for each of these topics. And then you'll also see this in each section is a summarized look at the town's advantages and the challenges and opportunities for each of these topics as well. And I'll highlight a few elements in this section, because I know they're ones that I think Board of Trustees and Planning Commission work with probably every meeting and more frequently than that. And one is the future land use map. So this really sets the stage, as you know, for zoning decisions. It's a guiding document, a guiding plan for the public, for investors, for yourselves as a board. And I know this will look familiar because it's similar colors to the one that you have in place. There are some updates to it based upon the feedback that we've received through the process. And so you'll note more red, more blue. So the red is the commerce and services, and blue mixed use centers, which allows for residential and commercial. One of the major comments we heard was to increase the amount or opportunity of commercial uses along Highway 259. So if you look at your current future land use map and compare to this one, you'll notice that difference. And I will say, since the last plan was adopted in April, there were several parcels where over that amount of time and through working with the committee, we were able to identify 2 or 3 other parcels that we updated in the future land use map because the existing conditions on the ground were different than what was reflected in the future land use map. And so there were a couple of corrections that were made to the future land use map just based upon a more detailed approach that we went through for this comprehensive plan update. And so one other major difference or more detail that was added in this comprehensive plan update is that each of the future land use designations here on this map is described in more detail. So it's intended to provide you and the public with more guidance on the appropriate kind of development that would be compatible in that future land use designation, for instance. And so you'll see this, for each of the designations, you'll see this compatibility table. And this table will show you, based upon how the circles are filled in under compatibility, which how compatible a development is within that future land use district. So it's a varying level of compatibility. So this strategy really allows the town to be more flexible, based upon market demands that may change from time to time, as long as it's still complementary to the future land use. But it also allows the town to have discretion in looking at each site more individually, looking at the surrounding context, because every property is different. And so just for an example for this, where you see 3 dots filled in, that stands for, this is a desirable type of development within this land use category. And so for instance, in rural and agriculture, it would be single family detached lots that are at least a half acre in size. But you'll see, like, down further below, manufacturing is at 1, which means incompatible development type in this future land use category. So that's outlined for the rural and agriculture, the housing, future land use, mixed use centers, commerce and services, employment and industry. And then we've also added the sub-area opportunity, which sounds like it aligns really well with the work that Johnson Associates doing on the zoning overlay. And so, US 259 is the front door and main street of the community. So this recommends policy considerations for development along the highway. And then it also lists compatibility for different types of development. So for instance, the highest compatibility listed here is mixed use, residential, commercial, and office, and commercial neighborhood scale, and townhomes and cottage courts, civic spaces, parks, and open space. And this table here on page 54 is intended to be a helpful tool because what it does is it translates these future land use designations into how they relate to zoning districts. And so if you were to look at your current zoning districts that are adopted now, you'll see those kind of in the columns here, and then on the left you'll see the future land use categories. So if you were to, if you had a zoning application in front of you and it was designated as a mixed use center, looking to see, okay, X means it's generally appropriate, this zoning district in this future land use category. So it's really meant to be, intended to be a helpful tool for you as you're considering zoning districts, and also for staff as developers come in and have ideas about what they would like to do on the site. They're able to quickly share the types of zoning districts that would be compatible based on the future land use map. And I just wanted to highlight too in this section, the long-term housing guide and toolbox. So that's here in the green on these pages. So one of the big topics that was discussed quite a bit on the advisory committee, and what we heard about consistently from the public was the need for kind of a fair share of options of housing. And I mentioned this during the Planning Commission presentation. We didn't hear that, we want 200 units of multifamily or anything like that, or like a 50-50 split between single family and multifamily. That's not all we heard at all. But what we heard from the community was that there is a need that needs to be filled for to provide options for the workforce housing for the folks that are commuting and have long commutes, to service the retail and all the services that are provided in Ho Chi Town, the tourism industry, for those folks that are commuting in for that, provide some options for them, as well as folks that are even starting businesses in Ho Chi Town, having an option to be able to afford to buy a home in Ho Chi Town as well. And so this toolbox provides a menu of options and ideas for the ways that the town could explore partnerships, look at options for incentivizing housing options in the community, And so the future land use map does not mark certain areas specifically for long-term housing versus short-term housing, but it does provide this toolbox to help support ways to be proactive and make that happen for the community. And then there's also an annexation section in here, and this provides, I think the biggest part that will be helpful is as you're starting to think about annexation in different areas surrounding htown are the evaluation factors. So these are listed as, questions that could be asked, things that could be considered by the board, by the town, as you're thinking about potential for annexation of other areas. Proximity to the town limits, infrastructure readiness, feasibility of extension of utilities if needed. Is there development pressure or pending proposals? Is there landowner interest? And also cost-benefit analysis, comparing projected revenues to the service, capital, and maintenance costs that the town would be responsible for. And also access and connectivity to the town network. That is a big component that came up in discussions and engagement through this process is the need for more options for connectivity. So we've added that as an evaluation factor as well. And so when you see this map, it doesn't mean, this is the area, this is the next area, or it basically highlights opportunities for further study. And so this area outlined in red are opportunities for further study for annexation. The white parcels are those that are in broken bow city limits, so those are carved out around those sites. But essentially south and west of the existing town limits is identified as the area of further study. And we've just described those there, recommended process and coordination steps to help guide the process moving forward. And then you'll see this in each of the chapters too, existing conditions, recommendations, and then this section really sums up what each of the goals are for the section, as well as the recommendations to help achieve those. So the goals are, in this section, facilitate growth and development that aligns with guiding htown, this plan. So examples of that would be using the plan as a consistent reference, designating a town center, requiring meaningful open green space in new projects, and adopting a US 259 corridor overlay. Sequencing development with infrastructure, and using the long-term housing guide and toolbox, and setting design standards for commercial and multifamily, and establishing access standards and eliminating landlocked parcels, and buffer where uses meet. And it sounds like with Jessica's presentation that several of these are already in the works and moving forward. So the other goals include protect and enhance htown's natural environment, and build capacity and tools to implement the plan. So the next section is infrastructure, public facilities, and services. And I'll hit a couple highlights here. And you'll see the case studies often have large images, so as you go through, there are a number of case studies to help support examples of similar projects and how their communities have addressed them. Okay, so there are several proposed maps that you'll see here, and on page 97 is the proposed master thoroughfare plan. And so you'll see the highway is designated as principal arterial. And then you'll see in purple major collectors. So those collectors are ones that really connect to potentially, areas outside the town, but also they're really a funnel, a connector between local residential streets, kind of as spines throughout the community. And then in yellow, you'll see minor collectors, and then the local residential streets are just in gray. But I especially want to highlight this because this plan really sets the stage for your ordinances. So your subdivision regulations, your engineering criteria, this is intended to be a guiding document where those criteria, those ordinances can relate to and complement the plan. And so if you see a major collector, as an example, on this designation, you should also have in your ordinances basically a street design for major collectors, so that as development continues to happen in the future, you have a standard for how wide the travel lanes need to be for a major collector, whether sidewalks are required or not. So it really sets the stage for, if it's designated as this type of street, here are the requirements that would coincide with that. So it really sets a standard for thinking about, even if it's not used as a collector now, as development happens, let's continue to improve how development occurs and make sure it's aligned with the long-range vision. And then there's also a proposed bike and pedestrian map. This is, like all the elements in here, it is long range, but identifies opportunities for, the ODOT's work on adding a trail, but also extending the vision to extend that further south, and also in the future, finding ways for bike and pedestrian compatibility along the collector streets, because those really are the main connectors between all the different homes and the cabins that are in the community. And it also identifies in pink the proposed mountain biking area, and so we've identified that as well. Also wanted to highlight this map. This is something that Johnson Associates worked and met with emergency personnel to identify a proposed htown emergency route. And so you'll see alternatives here. And so the red and kind of that lighter red color, you'll see emergency route to Highway 259. And then from a more regional zoom out perspective, the green kind of teal color is the future emergency route to Highway 3. So the goals in this section include improving roadway condition to ensure adequate and safe vehicular travel, ensuring safe and organized evacuations during an emergency, developing a trails and sidewalk master plan, develop a capital improvement staffing plan, improve traffic flow and pedestrian safety on Highway 259, implement a trolley system. And that's intended to be just to highlight that, because I know that that's not, that's a very specific goal in here. This is intended to be a pilot project that is also based upon peak demand. And so we have some sections in this plan that highlight it more and show a case study of how that could be accomplished as a seasonal shuttle service in the future. Maintain and ensure public water service, provide public sanitary sewer for commercial development, map and assess utility infrastructure, and create a drainage ordinance and drainage design criteria manual. Also engineering design criteria, expand high-speed broadband access across htown, expand town hall and community amenities, and launch a maintenance and safety program. And so on economic diversification and local business support, just for the sake of time, I'll highlight there are a number of case studies in here as examples, and I'll hit the goals. So the goals include strengthen economic diversification and support local business, improve infrastructure and public safety, and leverage parks, trails, and placemaking to drive the economy. Housing and attainability priority. So that the goals include balancing visitor lodging with year-round housing, improving housing attainability with partnerships, streamlining housing while protecting livability, and using data to guide housing decisions. And then parks, trails, and community amenities. The goals include creating a local parks and open space system, expanding trails, sidewalks, and outdoor connectivity, foster partnerships for nature-based recreation and education. And then the final strategic priority is community character and connection. And the goals include making htown unmistakable at first glance and enhancing community connection. And those are just examples of images where that's already happening and recommendations on how to extend that even further. And then also improving the experience along Highway 259 and key nodes in the community. And so the last section is on implementation of monitoring. And this provides instructions essentially on, or description of the implementation matrix you'll see here. So each of the priorities it's organized by priority here. And then you'll see that the actions are listed, the type of project, the time frame, and responsible parties and key partners. And so when you see priority, 0 to 1 year, so that doesn't mean completely accomplish it within 1 year. Some of these are long-range projects, but it might mean if it's priority that we would recommend starting the process, moving in that direction, taking the first step within the next year. And so the timeframes included here are priority, short-term, midterm, and long-term. And then the appendix, which is saved separately because of file size and to keep the number of pages down, includes the place brand audit. So if you'd like to take a closer look at place brand audit, it's where you can find it. And the htown comprehensive plan market snapshot. This is from Catalyst, which includes more detailed market data. And then finally, the community engagement survey results, where you can take a deeper dive into the data that we received. So that's an overview. I know it's a lot of information. There's a lot of detail in the document. But the next step for the process is to schedule a planning commission public hearing. And then it would be back before the Board of Trustees for a vote and consideration. And so this is intended to be an overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have now or after the presentation. And then also just wanted to open it up for if you, as you review the document, finish reviewing it, you know, this is the time that we're happy to make edits and make those edits before it goes to the Planning Commission for a public hearing. So thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to present. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Jill, great job, thank you so much. It's a lot to process, but everything looks like it's in place, and so yeah, I'm proud of it.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, and we're happy to answer any questions you have later and look forward to the next steps.
Thanks, Jill. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks.
Okay, 14. Discussion, consideration, possible action regarding adoption of the revised leave policy. I've looked through it. Adam, do you have any thoughts on it? It looks like it's pretty straightforward.
This is an improvement of our leave policy and just trying to make it fair for our first responders whenever they take their shifts off. Because their shifts are in terms of days, whereas ours are in terms of 8 hours, right?
So what we did to try to account for that from a legal perspective is, is the way that day is defined is whatever your normal schedule is on that day, that's how many hours you get, if that makes sense. Sorry, if I get that. So you'll see the footnote at the bottom. For terms of this policy, the term day means the number of hours an employee is regularly scheduled to work during a normal workday or shift for the employee's assigned position. For employees who work extended, rotating, or non-standard shifts, including fire, police, or other emergency personnel, a day of leave shall be calculated based on their regularly scheduled shift hours and not limited to an 8-hour workday. That way, they're still getting paid the same when they take off work, and so we're doing it by days, not hours.
If they work a 12-hour shift, they don't have to take a day and a half of sick leave.
Right.
Yeah, like anybody else
Well,
would.
it's the same thing with 24-hour shift or 48-hour shift.
Yeah, whatever their shift would be,
They
it's
still-
by day.
They won't take off a 48-hour shift, and I'm just bringing this up for the firemen to make sure we're clear. They're gonna get 10 days, 1 to 4 years, they get 10 days. They're gonna have to take 2 days off if they take 1 shift off, correct? the way I'm reading it.
No.
No.
So
No.
if their normal day shift is 24 hours, that just counts as 1 day of PTO for them.
Okay, 1 day, but they're actually working 2 days. But if they take off, they work a 48-hour shift and off 96, correct?
Yeah, so for us, a day would be 1 24-hour shift. So if they took 2 days, they'd get their full 48 off.
Yes,
Correct,
yes.
But
he's
they
saying
take,
that.
if they take 2 days leave off, they get the full 48 hours off. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Just wanna make sure
I
everybody
think this
understands
is
it.
actually why this got brought up, was because of our shift work.
Same
Yeah.
thing, same thing with police chief. Y'all gonna work 10 or 12, y'all working 12, or what you gonna do? Okay.
The handbook previously talked in terms of hours, how many hours people
Yes,
accrued, and that just doesn't work when you have this. So we have changed it to how many days are accrued, and what your day is dependent on your normal shift. So our office staff, they're still get paid for their whole day, but their day is obviously not 12 or 24 hours.
But you're limited them, you have to take the full day off, can't take half a day off.
I think that, I'm pretty sure that's how we had it drafted before.
All vacation time must be taken in full day increments. It
Yes,
doesn't talk
yes.
about-
Correct.
Doesn't talk about,
Yeah, you can't just take 2 hours off.
okay.
You wanna work that out with your supervisor and make those 2 hours up somewhere else or something like that. We're doing PTO by the day.
I've gotta ask, I'm gonna play the gun. Leave, annual sick, holidays, vacation, and voting, VOTING. Definition, please.
Which section are you looking at? Sorry.
Very top of the, I guess this is a leave policy we're talking about.
Yeah, can I come look with you, Howard? Sorry. No, I'll come to you. You're good.
Yeah.
You guys know how much time they get off to go vote?
Is that to go?
Oh,
go
at the
voting?
top.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the vacation leave policy. There's another section under here. See, this goes into sick leave.
Okay.
There's another section that's voting that we made no changes to.
Oh, right.
I can pull that up real quick and
Okay,
just
so
tell
you-
you what our
you
voting
just
policy
didn't
is.
print off the
No
whole
changes
thing.
to
Okay.
that. Yeah, I only
Okay.
put the sections
Now-
on here that we were
Makes sense.
adjusting. Yeah, I think we give everybody leave for voting,
Yes.
for with, we try to accommodate that. But I'll pull that up real quick and just make sure there's no concerns
Okay.
for you.
Yeah, we just go with vacation and see.
Okay. Well, we knew from the onset, from day one, everything was due to revision. So we live and learn and we work through it.
As far as our agenda item, we only need to approve, reject, or amend as what was presented.
That's it.
I would make a motion. I would make a motion to approve the revised leave policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Howard Hager,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
Brenda Walters,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item 15, discuss consideration possible action regarding adoption of the Hochtown Fire Department Quality Division Procedural Handbook, establishing policies, procedures, training standards, conduct expectations, stipend structure, and operational guidelines for volunteer firefighters. I read this whole thing today. So it looks good.
Cody,
Did you have any questions? Did you have any?
No, we just, we had to put something together so that we can start, and have volunteers and outline those standards which we will hold to, so we just can't come to them and, oh, well, we don't like the way you're doing this or that. We have a standard set forth from day one.
And I reviewed that, and Adam has as well, and that's process my blessing. By the way, they get 2 hours of voting leave. That's what the policy says.
Is that 11, Cody? Is it pretty stringent? Is it pretty standard? Almost 70% of dispatch calls
So, like, I know,
responded.
like, Odo holds their guys, different, they're paid on call department, but like at Broken Bow, we had no sort of standard. So So we had guys, I think 70 is pretty easy to make.
Okay.
I mean, obviously there's extra circumstances that go into that, you couldn't make it because of this or that, but at least it holds them to a standard, and if we don't see them for a year, ran into that, you know, we had guys that drove out there 4 years, didn't know they were on the department. That they were there, you know, they were on the roll, so, let's just have some way that if we do need to get rid of somebody because they don't show up, we have that in writing.
Okay.
So we're not, because we'll pay their pension and everything, you know. They've been in 20 years with us, they get a pension like everybody else does, and we pay that yearly. And it keeps us from having to pay their pension when they're not giving us anything back.
Correct.
But even their pension, and I think it's in some of their pension clauses that it talks about
So the pension has.
whether some departments may not get the 2 calls a year.
Yeah.
Fine, but they still got training to do, they still got engines to take care of. There's other things they can do to fulfill those obligations for that pension.
And so that we have that, we have guys that maybe they're busy and they can't make every call.
Exactly.
But they show up to all the meetings, and they show up to any fundraisers, or they show up to this and that, and, you know, we take all that into account. But
You bet. Okay.
at least it gives us something to base our stuff off of.
Okay. Any further questions?
I'll make a motion that we, accept the htown Fire Department Volunteer Division handbook.
I'll second. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Howard Haggard.
Yes.
Diane Jordan.
Yes.
Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Travis Sargent.
Yes.
Brenda Walters.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 16, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve sleeve patch for the htown Police Department. Now, we have the back.
I didn't see a patch in here, Judy. Did we, can we print it out? Blame this on me, but I asked for this to come back on the agenda. You know, we've been knocking this around for 6 or 8 months or more. Our police department has been in business for over 12 months now. I think it'd be nice to get a sleeve patch on them so they know where we come from other than just police on the back of her vest, so.
We did get, in that process, and we'll look at the patch, I've already looked at it, I don't know if Todd and Diane looked at it, but we did get some feedback from, Councilman Wilson. So he,
And I got with Julie over a month ago, we agreed on some changes, agreed on some additions that we put in there. And yes, she did, I did, she communicated that with me, that we got with Thomas, and the feather, headdress, man bun, whatever you wanna call it. I agree, I don't think it's, indicative to the Choctaw Nation, or any Indian nation as far as they're concerned. It looks like a man bun to me, but anyway, you don't have one, do you?
I don't know.
But anyway, if Judy can print it off so we can look at it.
I think it's
Judy, you have it on your phone?
I could be called out by Howard now.
I think it's headed in a direction, and it's still, you know, headed in that direction of being modified and some changes. Like, Adam, can you elaborate on what
If
you
we
had?
agree on it with maybe a couple of modifications, at least that's further than we are now.
So the plan is, Adam, if we'd like the skeleton of this thing, then your plan is to send it to someone and let them do some of these final modifications.
Yes, so we'll hire a professional digital graphics
We
artist.
incorporated the diamonds, which is indicative of the Choctaw. Added the bow and arrow and the three arrows. It's,
Now, we gotta make those changes, yeah, that's what she did, so that's more of a,
Can we maybe take no action today, but when we see it with these changes, then we can put it on the agenda?
I'd like to table it, so we'll make sure we get it back on the next agenda, if that's what we're gonna do.
So what changes are these?
Here.
The headwear on the horse.
yeah, he just wanted to make some changes based off
That's what Thomas
Eastern
said.
tribes, yeah, and for us to do some, research and look into the chief of Pushmataha and look at where it'll reflect the southern eastern tribes. So this is a start. We'll look at it, I think, because we definitely want to get their blessings. I like it.
make a motion we table attached to the changes that have been made.
Yeah, I was gonna say, my preference would be that you take no action and we just put it on again when we're ready. Otherwise, if we table it and we drop it, we can get in trouble.
Gotta move.
Yeah.
Sooner, you wanna do that again, Doc?
I make a motion we take no action on these patches.
Okay.
Let's do it every time.
Just wanna make sure it's not everything's done. Okay, 17, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding acceptance of the road easement agreement from Choctaw Mountain LLC for the town of Htown for warehousing road 52,000 with Fox Trail.
So this item here is easement 1 of 2 that's needed to be executed for us to have our road maintenance capabilities along with Bottom Trail Road. The other one is currently with Weyerhaeuser, with their legal team, and it's very likely that they'll completely redraft the easement agreement, and that's fine. We'll review it with our legal team and make sure everything works.
Fantastic.
But this one is ready for us to.
That one's good to go.
This goes Blue Bottom Trail to our city limits.
Oh, I didn't finish that yet. Depended on cut off the, section.
I would make a motion to accept the road easement agreement from Choctaw Mountain LLC to the town of Htown for the warehouse road 15,000 Loop Photo Trail.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Howard Haggard,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
Brenda Walters,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, guys, item 18, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve task order number 6 for Benchmark Construction Services for construction management, inspection materials, testing services for the Woods Potter Road reconstruction project in the amount not to exceed $136,426.
So
20 cents with the anticipated completion date of July 30th, 2026.
Okay, so these next 3 items are for the inspection services from Benchmark. We do not have the task orders for the engineering and design yet because we were waiting on tightening up the scope, and we needed one last cost estimate for Pinion. So we do have the cost for the design work for Pinion, but we're still waiting on the cost estimate. And we do have the road design engineer here, Jeffrey Dixon, to answer any questions. We also have Charles here with Benchmark, of course, to answer any questions about these next 3 items here that we're going to look at. I've also updated our road budget analysis. I can send that out in an email as well. If you guys want to get into the numbers of how much money we're going to have left after these projects, we can jump into that conversation if you want. I have it on hand and ready to go, but if not, I can just shoot it to you in an email and we can still digest everything as we continue to move on.
I don't know how you can figure how much money we're gonna have left, and we don't even have the estimated, budget or the estimated prices in our hands yet.
Right, so we do have cost estimates for Lugfata Trail, and we have cost estimates for Old Htown Road, but I do not have a cost estimate yet for Pinion. And so, let's say we process forward, we hire on the Benchmark task orders and those amounts, that's a total of $298,308.04. And then you'll have the total engineering costs for Lugfata, Old Htown Road, Pinion. That's $122,775 in engineering and design work, which will leave us with about $3,098,000. And then we will deduct the cost estimates for Lugfata Trail, which is $2,037,000, and then Old Htown Road, which is $389,000. That's a total commitment of $2.4 million. And then that will leave us about $670,000-ish for Pinion, and then also our road maintenance operations through the rest of the fiscal year. So again, we can jump into this as we continue to move along.
Adam, what was the grant for Old Htown Road?
That's my question.
That's $150,000.
Okay.
What's the deadline for finishing that?
May of
30th?
26.
Okay.
Right.
So that amount you give us is and, it's not including that.
That does not have the 150,000, that's just our total costs.
Okay.
Are we comfortable that we got spring break coming up, so obviously these projects, we started on now, would be done by spring break, so we want to start these after spring break, so does that leave us money to condition these roads to get them drivable, in good drivable shape for spring break?
Right, so as we're coming up on our spring break, debacle, I guess you could say our spring break influx of traffic.
And again, spring again.
Charles and I have driven all the roads early January before the winter storm hit, and we put together our plan on what we're going to do to make sure that our paved roads and our unpaved roads are in great condition. You know, it's going to be a lot of patchwork involved, especially with Luke Fada Trail. So hopefully we can get that Weyerhaeuser easement agreement back, and we can get to patching on Luke Fada. So we'll probably have to do like a special meeting sometime mid-February anyways. So as far as the timeline of the projects, if you want to get into that, Jeffrey's here, he can answer that.
I was just, you know, you said we have a balance of like 600,000 there.
If we do Old htown Road and Luke Fada.
Right, so I guess what I was getting at is, out of that so is that 600,000 going to be enough to do this patchwork?
So also there is a note in there is that Jeffrey also adds a 20% contingency, which accounts for about 400,000. So if it's under the contingency and we get really solid bids, that would actually free us up to about 1.1 million to work with to pay Pinion and to carry us through our road maintenance operations for the rest of the fiscal year.
So my question would be, if we wait till after spring break to do the Old htown, do we have time to get it done by May 16th?
Okay, so it's gonna take 2 weeks to do the engineering, bidding takes a month, so that's why these were pushed in, so the sooner we get started, the sooner we can get them done. Old htown is gonna be about a 30 to 45 day to complete. But we have to get the bidding and everything started so that somebody can begin. That's the crucial point right now, is like, once we get the contract signed, we'll immediately start putting all the bid documents together and getting everything ready to speed this process up.
So the work on Old htown Road, does it really have to wait until after spring break?
We would be signing the documents ahead of time, so the design work can go ahead and start. So theoretically, the project would already be launched.
You're not starting you're starting the design process and bidding process, and then once that's going to happen after spring break. You won't sign the contract with the contractor until after spring break.
We have to go through the bid process and award the bid.
So during spring break, we're gonna be doing paperwork.
Right, but.
Then after spring break, we'll be pushing.
The construction time, what do you think about the construction time?
It's like 45 days.
If we have any rain or anything, we could throw a kink.
What do you think, Jeffrey?
We'll be pushing it.
I mean, you have 45 days. That's going to be, and you can signify to the contractor he has less time. That just means that your cost goes up. But you know, it's 2,000 feet of straight road, not anything like we did with Chinook and Halibut or anything. It's going to be more straightforward, and that 2,000 feet, once you get started, my estimate is to provide cushion so that if something were to happen, we have time. It should be much less time than that. It just depends on your contractor. I mean, once they started on Chinook and Greenwing and Halibut, you know, it took them 2 weeks to do makeup. So, and that's even when they had to come back and redo the surface. So
the project has to be completely completed by
Close out by May.
May.
I'll get the specific date from Kim, but that's what she's told me. The executive director of Keto.
Oh, it's the end.
Well, I'll get the specific date from Kim. I don't have the specific date.
Yeah.
even with the worst case of everything, we have plenty of time to get it done by May.
Okay.
May is not a. I mean, May.
He says so.
You know, it's going to be sometime in May, and so we're just now into the second month, and by the time we get to the third month, we're going to have the bidding done, the construction, and being able to construct. So, into third month, fourth month, you're in contractor mode.
When do you think we can provide notice to proceed?
On
On Old Hochtown?
on Old Hochtown is up to you when you want to provide, if you want to have a special meeting to provide a notice proceed, or you have a contingency that allows you to give the notice proceed in a meeting where we don't have to have another meeting to give that notice, then that just expedites and saves a week to 10 days on your time. I mean, basically, that's the easiest way to do it, is that you know it's happening, you provide him the authority to go ahead and get issues that notice proceed, so we don't have to have another meeting.
Sure.
Roll touchdown road, I'm good with that.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
You ready to take action? How are you going with that?
I'm still looking bottom dollar for all three projects. What we have to do in our budget, we got 5 months left in this fiscal year. We've got, right now we've got, not including January's numbers, I don't know what we spent in January for roads. But through the end of the year, for 6 months of our budget, we spent $1.355 million out of a $4.9 million budget. We've got $3,574 million, not counting January. I see $300,000 worth. I still don't see numbers of road, actual asphalt on the road. We've still got Camp Ranch Road to do, which numbers have not come in. I'm trying to figure out what is the rush that we haven't got. We haven't got a design on Pinion Road. How can we come up with a QC dollar figure? I just haven't figured that out yet.
On the inspection side, that comes from the expected contract time of construction. Our numbers are derived from the manpower requirement for us to be out there for X number of hours per day, per week, per 30, 60, 120 days. So our numbers are easy to derive.
And we're using not to exceed numbers, so.
Sure.
And if they get it done faster, that number comes down.
Yeah, I guess it's just another thing we have to do. It's not completed, but these completion dates are July 30th.
Yeah, if you're looking at the benchmark document, that's the expected time that we would be done with our work within that time frame. So we shouldn't be working on this beyond July.
Okay, thank you. You just told me we didn't spend hardly anything in January, $5,900. Okay. So, that's a drop. I got one more question to ask Liz. Liz,
Yeah.
we got $136,000 work order here. I know we have agreements with Benchmark and PSW. And we reviewed those contracts, or those do we have to renew those contracts yearly, and then we've done that. And just like the fire, I'm just asking, the fire truck, we have the limit to $99,000. Can we write this $136,000 work order?
So this is the TSW and what, and
This is the
benchmark?
Item 18.
Item 18 to benchmark.
No, I'm, as far as the MSAs, because the MSAs are separate from these, the question is on the renewal. I think those auto renew, but I can look them up while we're sitting here if we want to come back to this. And then your second question is, do we have to,
We have to go
give-
triple bid this for $136,000. Anything
Because
over
it's-
$100,000, we have to have more bids. That's my
Are
question.
they? You're making me use my brain on the spot. Because this is for the provision of,
This is professional services.
This is professional services, so.
yeah, it's not gonna be
I think we're okay, but
construction.
I think it's construction.
That's what
guess
I,
construction and capital outlay are two different things
well, it depends.
in professional
It gets,
services.
there's kind of this weird line on who are you in the construction? are you the consultant who's providing the analysis for the construction, or are you the person who are you the contractor? And which one they fall under is
Regardless of that, professional services, just like he said, it's still labor. It's still labor in the field. It's labor in the office.
No,
It
well,
is
no, the
labor.
law actually makes a distinction.
Benchmark is labor.
It makes a distinction under the competitive
They're a
bidding act.
professional
for
service.
consultants.
Professional service.
Yeah.
As long as they've been qualified, then they can be renewed. And that comes down to the contract, where you negotiate the contract with them.
Where it gets sticky, let me give you an example that's not this, where you're gonna build a new town hall. You have to bid out the contractor on that, which you wouldn't have to bid out somebody who's gonna come in and consult, like an architect who is just gonna give you the plans. It's the actual it's the construction that makes that different. So that's not what this is. But if you're,
Consultants can't.
I'm sorry,
Consultants can't bid.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that if this is a consultant situation, then you're not required to do that under the Competitive Bidding Act, because they're not I have a whole memo on this for a different issue I had to look at recently. But if you'd like some further analysis, I can pull that memo up and we can come back to this item. So I could give you, not off the top of my head without pulling up my memo.
I would make a motion to approve, the task order number 6 with Benchmark Construction Services, in the amount not to exceed $136,426.20.
I'll second. Roll call vote, please.
Howard Hager,
I'm abstaining.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
Brenda Walters,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 19, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve task order number 7 with Benchmark Construction Services LLC for construction management, inspection, materials testing services for Old Town Road resurfacing project in the amount not to exceed $72,613.49 with anticipated completion date of May 16, 2026.
I would make a motion to approve task order number 7 with Benchmark Construction Services, for testing on Old Town Road project not to exceed $72,613.49.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Howard Hager,
Yes, I'm abstaining.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
motion carries.
Item 20, discussion, consideration, possible action to approve task order number 8 with Benchmark Construction Management Inspection and Materials Testing Services for Pinion Road resurfacing project in the amount not to exceed $89,268.35 with the anticipated completion date of May 31st, 2026.
I would make a motion to approve task order number 8 with Benchmark Construction Services for the inspection, materials, and testing services on Pinion Road, not to exceed $89,268.35.
Maybe a second.
A second.
Roll call vote, please.
Diane Jordan, Howard Hager,
I'm abstaining.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd McDaniel,
Yes.
Chad Sargent,
Yes.
Brenda Walters,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, item 21, discussion, consideration, possible action to convene into executive session.
Yes.
Yeah. May pursuant to Title 25 Oklahoma statute, discuss the appointment, hiring, appointment, demotion, promotion, disciplining, or resignation of Adam Boston, Misty Green, John Cunningham, and Shay Williams. And item B pursuant to Title 25 Oklahoma statute 307B3 for the purpose of discussing the purchase of appraisal of real property for the town of Hochtown.
I'll make a motion to approve that we convene into executive session.
I'll second.
Howard Hager,
Yes.
Diane Jordan,
Yes.
Todd Todd McDaniel.
Yes.
Brad Sargent.
Yes.
Brenda Walters.
Yes.
Motion carries at 2:59 p.m.
So do we want to leave or?
Yeah, I said it all up for you on there.
Oh, you did, okay. Never did.
They're heading into executive session 2:59.
I cleaned it and prepared some water.
Oh, you did.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say.
Take the snacks in there if you don't.
I'm not sure. I know right there described an agenda.
Chad, is the plan to start the development authority meeting after y'all adjourn this one?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this one, yeah, as soon as we get done here, we'll take a 5 minutes, and then we'll do the development authority.
Okay.
How you doing? Good. Thanks, man.